What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be on steering. So as I've mentioned in a few of my other videos, I'm going to be using the electro-hydraulic power steering system from a Toyota MR2. I think it's a phase 2, it's like a 92 plate. So in terms of what's involved in that, then different people do it in different ways. Some people just have the pump running on and off a switch. I'm not a fan of doing it that way simply because you've then got no control. So at high speeds you're still going to get the same amount of power steering as you would at low speeds, and at high speeds you want it to back off, and so it's more weighty. So this is what I'm going to do, using the full kind of MR2 ECU and brain and speed controller in essence. So in terms of the parts of the systems, you have this large unit here, which is the pump itself. You've got your feed and your return lines, and then your wiring connectors. Then you have a very large relay and the brain. These two, this is the connection, the power connection for the pump, which goes these two large wires here, positive and negative, and then these three are the control, which go on this other part of the limb. In terms of the brain, it's got multiple wires coming off it. These are for warning lights, diagnostic. Two of them are for the steering wheel angle sensor. You've got vehicle speed sensor, and you've got ECU to turn it all on. So as you can see, there's not actually that many wires to actually connect up to get it to work. So it's worth putting in the effort, I'd say. This over here is the indicator stalks from an MR2. The reason why I've taken them off is because they have the steering angle sensor, which this is the sensor, and there's a ring piece which should be in the spot if I haven't lost it, which I'm starting to think I might have. Ah, here it is. Here it is there. So I can kind of graft that onto one of my VW stalks relatively easily, and then obviously that gives me the signal for the steering angle. And then the other one that I want to need is the vehicle speed sensor. Now the VW outputs 4 revolutions per pulse on the VSS. On the VSS signal. Luckily, as does the MR2, so I should be able to feed that vehicle speed using my ECU. Now once I've got it installed, I can then play with potentially trying to output a different VSS signal to alter the control of the pump. So my thinking is, if I create a map potentially, which is like my own calibration, should I call it, if I input a vehicle speed of, I don't know, 20 miles an hour and tell the ECU to output 30 or 40 miles an hour, then that changes the way in which this controller will control the pump. So for example, at 20 miles an hour it might give this 50%, at 40 miles an hour it might give it 25%. So I can have a play with that and send different signals down to it to see how it affects the power steering at different speeds. So I need to find somewhere in the quad to house these ECUs. This I need to graft onto the steering column. That is to find a location of the bonnet, and that I need to find somewhere quite sturdy to mount it, because it's, as I mentioned, it's quite heavy. You can see here these mounts on top which I've made. So again, reading up on the internet how various different people do it. Some people rigid mount it, but then they complain of noise and vibration. Those who mount it on some form of kind of bush or rubber mounting don't seem to have any complaints. So having to make do with what I've got, I've basically butchered a front subframe off a VR6, which to be honest with you, I already had cut up for the rear mount for that. So just to kind of show you what I mean, this is part of the subframe. So what I've done is I've literally just cut it in half, shortened it, and made it fit on there. And then all I'll do is I'll weld this bracket that I've already made, which is some bits of steel, again what I can find, and then basically this part normally inserts into here. I'll show it to you in the car. You can see, it'll make more sense, but I've used the bottom part of it because obviously there's already holes which match this spacing on the vehicle. So once I weld that to there like so, these 2 points pick up on the front subframe, and it's mounted nice and sturdy, but obviously it's mounted with these rubber bushes, so there's some flex when this motor starts going at full chat, so it's not going to be rigidly mounted against the chassis or anything, so that should work quite nicely. So what I'll do now is I'll just show you how this bolts into the car, and obviously you can see how that's gonna work. So that's the front subframe, and you can see this part here is the same as this part here. So clearly I can use slightly longer bolts, put that on there like so, and that will bolt nicely through the subframe. So it'll almost have double bushings, because it'll have a bush on the actual mount itself and a bush there as well, so it should soak up all the vibration quite nicely. Alright, so there we have it. As you can see, it's mounted up through the original subframe and then up into the chassis leg, so that's nice there. And then obviously that pump will literally just, I weld it there along the edge, and it will just hang down here, which is nice and low down and out of the way, and it's in the furthest point away from the interior, so I shouldn't get that much noise. So I'll grab the pump now and show you where it should sit. Alright. That's a really awkward angle. There we go. So once it's in place there, that's kind of where it will sit, and then I'll just need to route the power steering lines to it, which can come straight across as they normally sit, because this is where the OEM power steering pump normally sits. So I can get rid of that bracket, and I can just come straight through here and into the pump. Right, you can see the power steering lines here. This is the high pressure, and then this is the low pressure. So I can literally just put it along this front subframe, go across there, and then into that pump. What I'll do is I'll just get kind of an extension pipe made up for the high pressure line, rather than trying to get a custom made piece. So obviously if that then fails, I've got to go and get another one made. But if I just do a link one, then it's a bit easier and a bit cheaper, because I've got loads of these. And the low pressure one is simply just a little extension, and that'll go straight through there, and then I'll have the little reservoir tank over here, and that should be it. So what I'm going to do now is just get that mount welded and in situ, and then I'll show you the progress. Okay, so I've mounted it up now. It's all welded up. I've got one final piece of welding to do, which is this additional brace just here, which goes to the bottom of the pump. That's to give it some more bracing left to right, because front to back it's fine, but left to right you can still see it's got a bit of movement. So I've just got to find some steel just to add in between these two bits here, and then that will brace it left to right, but still with some rubber mounts there and there. So that's basically mounted on the bottom and the top, both with rubber mounts, so should get zero vibration. I'm just going to put the bumper back on just to make sure that sits above the bumper line. I think it should, but let's double check, and we should be golden. Right, looking good. So that bottom mount sits a little bit below the bumper line, but the lower valance comes down by about that much anyway. So I'm happy with that. That's not going to be below the bumper once that valance is on. So yeah, all good. It's quite close, as you can see. That's all good. It's not going to move. So happy. Let's have a look through here. So you can just see it through that hole there. I think that's where the old evap tank used to sit. In this, reservoir, we'll find somewhere for it. Make up some lamps, and we have it over here so it's tucked up out the way. But yeah, happy with that. Decent progress. Last bit is just all the gubbins, all the wiring and stuff. I think I'm going to put it maybe the ECU box above the fuse box, and then the little relay thing just in front of this bar, so that way I haven't got to extend the wiring too much to get straight through down to that pump. So that's it for this video. Steering almost complete. Just got to get some lines made up and fix the ECU and relay, and that's really it. So productive day. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you up on the next update.